Just did a 5-day fast, and I'm going to talk in this video about why I did it, some of the things I experienced along the 5 days, and a handful of takeaways to perhaps the things that I got from doing the fast and the things that will help me do it again and perhaps in the future. So I'm David Bridge Jr. I'm 56 years old. I'm in pretty good health. Like to work out, like to play golf. And the reason I did the fast was to clean up my system. I read and saw, and I've done a couple of 3-day fasts, but during 3 days, the system will go into a state of what's called autophagy, where it just, the immune system and the system itself just starts cleaning up dead cells and getting rid of anything bad that might be going on. And it just bottles them up and ships them out, kind of like cleaning house. And so I did that for the 3-day fast a couple times in the last year. But I wanted to get to 5 days because it's my understanding that on the fourth and fifth day, stem cells start to kick in on the fourth and fifth day, which are the building blocks. And whenever they start to ramp up, the system can create 2 to 5 times as many stem cells as what you might normally have on a baseline. And so I figured why not get to the 5th day and get some stem cells kicked in. And what they'll do is they'll go and hit spots that need fixed, cleaned up, repaired. And a lot of people, I did a little research, and stem cell therapy can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. And I figured I would get the same benefit by doing it for 5-day fast for free. And stem cells are known to go in and help joints, help the heart, clear out this some disease and that kind of stuff. So I figured, what, I'll go ahead and do it. What the heck? I made the decision that I was going to do it. It was just a matter of timing. Ended up starting it on the night of Labor Day, so Monday evening. The last thing I had was a root beer float at 9 o'clock, and that was only in the morning. Maybe once or twice I had some coffee during the day, but just water, some salt. Keeping hydrated and keeping the minerals in the system is important because it's easy to cramp up. And so I put some sea salt in some water, but no calories to speak of. There might be 1 or 2 calories in coffee, but for all intents and purposes, it's calorie free. So I wanted to do that. So it was just a kind of being hungry all day on Tuesday. Wednesday, I went, for the most part, worked. I did some stuff throughout the day, and I had a golf league on Wednesday night, which started about, 4 o'clock or something like that. And so that took my mind off of it. Again, I was still hungry, but at the end of golf, we typically will eat. And I had some friends say, "Hey, are you gonna eat?" I'm like, "No, I'm just doing some stuff with my diet." And they're like, "What, you're not eating?" I'm like, "Yeah, just doing a 5-day fast." And a couple of them were like, "Dude, what are you talking about? 5 days? That's crazy." I'm like, "I've done 3 days before, but this one's gonna be 5." And so kind of, as you might expect, some surprise, some disbelief. I couldn't go 5 days. I'm like, "Yeah, you could." And so it's just a matter of, getting into the proper mindset to carry that out. So then on Thursday is a pretty rainy day, if I recall. And that's the 3rd day. It was, if I look at some of the notes that I made on maybe Thursday, I did a little cleaning and started the 2-day. I started to pay attention to AI and some more consequences of AI and how people can use it. That was the day before. Okay, so the 3rd day, Thursday, I started to write in my journal, day 4 of 5, but the 3rd day, I wanted it to be the 4th day. So it started to, I wanted it to start to be the end. And I'd played some decent golf the night before. And so I just started to focus on the end, keeping that resilience and focus to get to the end of the 5 days. Cleaned up, did some cleaning and did some work. And then on Friday morning, I woke up. I had a hard time sleeping not the night before. It was just, I don't know, it was weird, some weird dreams. And getting into the 4th day, I started to think of it in perspective of being the 4th day being a 10th of the amount of time that Jesus spent fasting in the desert, no less. And so I figured, if he can do it 10 times longer than me, I can hang in there and, get through the 4th day and the 5th day. But looking into my journal, the 4th day was definitely the hardest. Everything that I saw reminded me of something that I wanted to eat, and the hunger was really building. And what I was doing is the system was starting to really, adjust. And so it was, I had to just to find some things to do to take my mind off of food and really work from the end. And that was one of the biggest takeaways, but just focus on the end result and getting through the day. And I figured once I got to Friday night, get to bed, and Saturday was going to be pretty easy because it was going to be a long day of golf and I wouldn't have a chance to think about it. But when I did get to Saturday, it was the easiest day because I got into a flow state, a lot of golf. And by the time I was done golfing, I went to the store to get some food, and again, I made it till 9 o'clock Saturday night. So I made it the full 120 hours, 5 times 24, 120 hours of fasting with just water, some coffee, some salt water. And I had a little bit of a cramp, but it got to the point where I got rid of that too. And it was really no problem on the fifth day. But here are some of the key takeaways, with that being the biggest surprise that the fourth day was the hardest, not the fifth. But here's some takeaways that I picked up. And again, that was part of what I determined was a big takeaway, is that, if I can just make it a tenth of the time that Jesus fasted, that would be a good accomplishment. An eighth, actually, at the end of the day, five days of 40 being an eighth. But here's a handful of takeaways. Disruption always follows intention. There's always going to be some things that are going to want to, sidetrack you. People are going to say, hey, let's go eat, or something, that's going to want to make you give up and stop and quit. As a matter of fact, that I was going to do the fast the week before, but I found a good excuse not to because of the Labor Day. The way the timing rolled in, and the way people were going to be around, I wasn't going to not want to eat. I was going to not eat, if that makes any sense. So I just decided it was going to be on Labor Day. But disruption always follows intention. You're always going to have curveballs that are going to want to throw you off track. So I figured, the one of the biggest takeaways was you got to work from the end. Have that vision for where and what you want accomplished at the end of the time, and you'll be able to focus on that and get to the end. It's good. I mean, some discipline and determination required to hold on to that decision, because once I started, I mean, there was no turning back. Jesus' 40 days makes it seem relatively small. That was the third takeaway that I had. The discomfort that I felt relative to the larger benefit was an easy price to pay, considering, you never know what's going on in your system. When I was 30, I had cancer. And so I'm kind of aware of things that, I want to take my health into consideration and try to eliminate and eliminate any possibilities of disease, and focus on things that are going to keep me healthy. And so I figured it was a small price to pay to clean the system up and get things moving, but relative to any prescription drugs or medications, those kind of things, procedures or anything like that. The fifth thing is the hardest. It's the hardest right before your flow state. Whenever you're determined to get through that wall, if you will, that'll be the toughest part. But once you're on the other side, it gets to be kind of easy. You can kind of get into that flow state. And the sixth thing was it's a pattern interrupt for your entire system. Right now, I'm to the point where I want to stay trying to keep eating healthy. All I've eaten for the most part after the fast is some healthy stuff, no processed food to speak of. Although I did have a sandwich today with processed meats, but it was on the house because I won a golf match, but it just kind of looked good. I figured what the heck. But it's a pattern interrupt to the point where it gives you a chance to eliminate some bad habits. And it's a marketing term too. And I kind of wanted to get a definition of that for you. But here's what a definition of a pattern interrupt is: a technique used to disrupt or change a person's automatic thought or behavior pattern, often to redirect their attention or shift their mindset. It's commonly used in psychology, marketing, sales, and communication to break out of someone's habitual response and create an opportunity for new thinking or action. So it's one of those. It's exactly what it is. Gives you a chance to start afresh, if you will, and that kind of thing. And it stems from neuro-linguistic programming, where it's used to interrupt ingrained mental loops, making people more open to suggestion or change. It's effective because it creates a moment of surprise or confusion, allowing you to introduce a new perspective or behavior. That's what I wanted to do. And there was another thought I had. That's why I paused. I'm going to edit that out. But again, here's the final thought: is it gives you a chance to start afresh and use that pattern and interrupt. And you can use it to not only create a mindset for work, as well as your diet and fitness and all that kind of stuff, but you can then take that lesson learned and apply it to whatever else, whether it be some fitness or healthy eating, or addictions or social media or stuff like that. But by all means, if you've got any questions or comments about the 5-day fast, leave them below. Love to hear from you. I'm David Bridge Jr. And until next time. A couple more final thoughts about the fast. And one is that one of the fellows from my golf league on Wednesday says, "Why are you doing that? You're not fat." I'm like, yeah, really doing it to lose weight. And one of my other friends also said, you're starving yourself. And I'm like, hell no, I'm fasting. It's not about losing weight. It's not about a diet. It's about the benefits of what not eating for a few days will do. So it wasn't about the weight loss or anything like that. Although at the end of the day, I am lighter than I've been in 5 years. I probably lost 10 pounds as a result of it. I may have already gained them back, but still, it wasn't about the weight loss. It wasn't about starving myself. It was about a fast. It was about a set period of time to kick in and reset the system. And just wanted to add that in there and that final thought.